My parents skipped my medical school graduation to go on a cruise with my sister. Weeks later, I handed them the note they refused to open, and it broke them completely. For 4 long years, I worked day and night in medical school. I gave up parties, vacations, and even family holidays because my dream was to become a doctor. Graduation day was supposed to be the reward for all those sacrifices. I imagined walking across the stage, hearing my parents cheer for me, and finally feeling that they were proud of everything I had achieved. But on the actual day, when my name was called, I looked around the crowd and realized my parents were nowhere to be found. I kept checking my phone, hoping maybe they were just running late. But the ceremony ended. Families hugged, friends took photos, and I was standing there alone. Finally, I called my dad. He answered on the 3rd ring, and I could hear ocean waves in the background. That's when he casually told me they were on a Caribbean cruise with my sister, celebrating her new marketing job. He spoke like missing my graduation was nothing serious, as if it was just a small clash in schedules. In that moment, something inside me turned cold. My sister had gotten more celebration for a simple job than I ever got for becoming a doctor. I forced a smile over the phone and told him not to worry about it, that if they couldn't show up for my graduation, they shouldn't bother showing up for my future either. Before he could respond, I hung up. What they didn't know was that months before graduation, I had sent them a package. Inside was my acceptance letter into one of the most prestigious surgical residency programs in the country, along with certificates of my achievements, Dean's List, research publications, and volunteer awards. I even wrote a handwritten note explaining how excited I was to surprise them and celebrate together. But that package came back to me with a yellow sticker saying, "Refused delivery." At the time, I thought maybe they'd been busy or confused. I planned to just share the news at graduation. Now I knew the truth. They didn't care enough to open it. In the weeks after graduation, I prepared to move to Boston for residency. I barely replied to my parents' messages. My dad left a long voicemail talking about how amazing the cruise was and how proud he was of my sister. My mom sent short texts asking if I was okay. And my sister tried calling, but I couldn't answer. She had always been the golden child. She got praised for average grades, while my biggest successes were ignored or treated like they didn't matter. 3 weeks later, I was packing boxes when someone knocked on my door. I opened it to see my mom standing there, her eyes swollen from crying, holding the very same package I had sent months ago. She whispered, "Why didn't you tell us about the residency?" I pointed at the note inside and said calmly, "Go ahead, read it out loud." Her hands shook as she opened the box and pulled out my letter. At first, she read it silently, tears filling her eyes. Then she read it aloud. Line by line, my words spilled into the room. How I'd worked 16-hour days in the hospital, maintained a perfect GPA, got accepted into a program that only chose 12 people nationwide, and how I couldn't wait to celebrate this moment with them at graduation. By the time she finished, her voice was breaking. She looked at me, completely shattered. She tried explaining that they had thought the package was just more paperwork, that they were busy planning the cruise, that they didn't realize how important graduation was to me. I asked her quietly when my sister's graduation had been. She went silent because we both knew the truth. They had thrown her a big party for a bachelor's degree with a barely passing GPA, invited the whole family, taken dozens of photos, and posted everything online. Yet for me, their son who had become a doctor, they had nothing. 2 days later, I loaded my car and drove to Boston. My mom called 6 times before I even left the state, begging me to forgive them. My dad sent dozens of texts, apologizing and asking to talk. My sister left angry messages saying I was overreacting and selfish. I changed my number. For the first time in my life, I felt free. Residency was brutal, long hours, endless pressure, and the constant weight of life and death decisions. But it was also liberating. For the first time, I was surrounded by people who valued dedication and celebrated achievement. My professors noticed my work and gave me challenging cases. I finally felt like I belonged somewhere. A month later, my program director told me I had visitors. When I went downstairs, I saw my parents and sister, dressed in formal clothes, looking nervous and out of place. My dad immediately started a speech about how sorry they were, how they wanted to fix things. He handed me an expensive watch as a graduation gift. My mom cried and told me how proud they were. My sister looked annoyed and said I was being selfish, that I needed to forgive them because family sticks together. I looked at them and asked one simple question. What's the name of my residency program? They stared at me blankly. My dad guessed the wrong hospital. My mom said pediatrics because I was good with kids. And my sister rolled her eyes and said I'd never told them. But I had told them in the very note they refused to open. It was Massachusetts General Hospital's surgical residency, one of the most prestigious programs in the world. And they didn't even know. At that moment, I realized nothing had changed. They wanted to look like proud parents without ever actually being proud parents. My pager went off and I walked away, leaving them standing there. Months passed. I excelled in my program, getting published, earning commendations, and building the career I dreamed of. Then I learned my sister got engaged. I found out through social media, not from my family. Later, my mom called the hospital begging me to come to the engagement party. I told her I'd only come if she admitted out loud that they wanted me there not because they missed me, but because my absence made them look bad. She fell silent. That silence told me everything. I didn't go. I didn't send a gift. For the first time, I chose myself. Weeks later, my uncle reached out. He told me my parents had been telling everyone I was too busy with work, painting me as the villain. But he also shared something I had never heard before, that my dad had broken down, admitting they'd failed me, and my mom confessed she was afraid to admit the truth because she feared I'd never forgive them. Then something unexpected happened. I got a letter from my sister, 8 pages long, handwritten. In it, she admitted that she had always known I was the stronger, more accomplished sibling, but she had lived in my shadow. She explained that our parents over-celebrated her because they knew she couldn't compete with me. She confessed that she felt guilty every time they ignored my achievements to focus on hers. She even admitted that during the cruise, she knew it was wrong, that she tried to convince them to cut it short, but they refused. She apologized and said she wanted to be the sister I deserved, even if it was too late to fix everything else. That letter broke something inside me. For the first time, I cried, not from anger or loneliness, but from finally feeling seen. I called her that night, and we talked for hours. We decided to rebuild our relationship independent of our parents. As for my parents, I realized something important. Sometimes the best revenge isn't cutting people off loudly. It's quietly building a life so extraordinary that they have no choice but to confront the reality of what they lost. Whether they ever earn a place in my future is still uncertain. But one thing is clear. I will never again beg for their pride or their love. If you liked this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.